Welcome back, all our faithful viewers, to Two Brothers podcast. My name is Vincent Lovett. Always with me, beside me, Malik Patterson. How you doing, brother?
I'm doing good. How are you?
Doing better as always. You know, Colorado weather still ain't got me down yet, but that's neither here nor there.
See, you changed up the scenery again. You got a microwave in the background this time.
Gotta always invest into your home life, man. Always take care of your home life.
So, where do we want to start? Do we want to start with fighting first and get the fighting out of the way?
Yeah, let's do that.
Okay, you can start us off with UFC.
Okay. So the next upcoming fight, which will be on October 24th, is going to be Khabib Nurmagomedov versus Justin Gaethje. I think last time I said Dustin Poirier, kind of messed up on that one, which is odd because that was Khabib Nurmagomedov's last fight as a champion. Oddly enough, that was like a year ago after his fight with Conor McGregor. But let's see. This fight is gonna be a nice change of pace. It's gonna be in Fight Island this time in Abu Dhabi. I feel like they've been there for a lot of their UFC pay per view events recently. Like I think it's gonna be their third or fourth one in a row. But you're gonna have a wrestler in Khabib versus a striker in Justin Gaethje. I still, until you can actually beat the man, there's nobody else that's even come close to Khabib. It is not even gonna be a chance. It's not gonna be a fight. Granted, I still think that Justin Gaethje is gonna put up a fight. It's gonna be close, but it's the champ is gonna remain the champ, and it's gonna you're gonna see why he's still the best fighter, at least for his division.
And just to touch on the whole Abu Dhabi thing, I think Dana White and the rest of the staff, it's like I think they're kind of set into a groove, and it's like it's not broke, don't fix it, which is why they started off at Fight Island, tried Vegas again, and was like, I kind of don't like the feel.
Mm-hmm.
Went back to Fight Island. I'm not sure why. They'll probably, I mean, once everything goes away, I'm sure that they'll go back to Vegas like normal. But I think this gives them some sort of safe haven and some sort of what's the word I'm looking for? Normalcy at Fight Island, which is why they continue to go there. And I think it's an easier process for them because it's not a whole lot of traffic, it's not a whole lot of people, and as we know, Vegas, and as far as their COVID protocols and everything, is getting more lenient. They're not having as many cases, so therefore you have more people out. And as far as these fighters go, they train in such a tight knit environment, and then having so many people out and about in Vegas, I think kind of runs the risk of them potentially catching the virus again. So I think that's why they continue to go on Fight Island. That's just my personal view on it. I could be completely wrong, and it might be cheaper. Honestly, it might be cheaper for them to do it there. Who knows? But
Yeah, you gotta like pay your fighters to come to like get on the plane and stuff like that. I guess I'm pretty sure they pay out of pocket. Well, the money they get from the fight or fight of the night, and so on and so forth. But it do make sense when you're talking about having that normal feeling when not going into these fights. So I do see your point there. But on the side of like, why I believe they should stick to what they're doing because you don't really hear many cases. Well, granted, America only worry about America, but UFC hasn't even brought up the fact that like there hasn't even been many cases of COVID in Abu Dhabi to begin with. So I guess it's more the normalcy and the fact that you don't really run the risk of even getting COVID for your fighters because once that happens, you will believe that it's the entire card may become infected by the fight by the COVID cases. So it makes sense. It makes sense to stick in Abu Dhabi.
yeah, and sticking with Las Vegas, if you're looking for a pay-per-view, what was supposed to be a pay-per-view fight that is now going to be free this upcoming Saturday, which would be October 17th, there's going to be a lightweight heavy match. Wow, let me backtrack. There's going to be a lightweight championship match in Vegas at MGM, and it's going to be free on ESPN. Time starts at 10 p.m. Eastern Standard Time and 7 p.m. here on the West Coast. And it's going to be between, don't kill me if I butcher these names, Vasily Lomachenko Lomachenko versus Tefimo Lopez Jr. And they've had a little bit of history before, but considering that the title is on the line, it's going to be very interesting. The name I can't pronounce that starts with an L, not Lopez, but the other one. People have said that he's been really, he's got a lot of praise in the boxing realm, especially from the likes of like Max Kellerman and stuff, who said that he's very technically sound and honed in. And so, as opposed to Lopez, who's a bit on the younger side, and who's just kind of like a striker, and who's more so relies on his speed and on his power, mainly his power, rather than his technique. So that's why they have Lomachenko winning this 3-1 is what the cards say. We'll see as the fight gets a little bit closer, and Friday night we'll get an official reading of where the fight's supposed to where they have the fight panning out to. But they're both 15-0 since being pros, so they both have a really young pro career, which is probably why they're still in the lightweight and haven't moved up to any heavier classes so far. So I just wanted to throw that out there and throw out another sport. Any comment?
Is there's one thing I would say. Max Kellerman does know. He does know what he's talking about when it comes to boxing. Basketball, I'm not so sure about, but that's another story. It's that's usually the case with young boxers, especially like the highlight ones, like the highlight boxers. You will find that they're undefeated and they get more praise rather than the old savvy veterans who has maybe 5 or 6 losses, but they're more the better fighter. You want to see these undefeated fighters always fight because you want to know who is truly the best out of that fight. So I can't wait to watch it. It's interesting.
Lomachenko is 1, and then with 10 knockouts, and then Lopez Jr. is 15-0 with 12 knockouts. I'm pretty sure I'm still butchering his name. He's 14-1 with 10 knockouts, and then Lopez Jr. is 15-0 with 12 knockouts, but they both have 15 fights in their professional career. The only advantage that Lopez has going into this fight is his opponent, Lomachenko, I believe is how you say it, hasn't fought an entire year. So he's took an entire year off, and he said he's never taken a whole year off, so he might be rusty in the ring. And so I believe Lopez Jr. could take that to his advantage. And if we're all still looking for the heavyweight fight that we've all been, anticipating and kind of waiting to see, that's going to be on November 28th, which is, of course, Mike Tyson versus Roy Jones Jr. That's still going to happen. I believe originally they said Mike Tyson was only postponed it because of he wanted more money. I believe that he also wanted more money. Also, he's got to try to wean himself off the weed because it's still going to be a regulated fight, and you can't have that kind of substance in your system as you get tested for the fight. Not saying that I'm pro or against any of that. I mean, if it's recreational and you have it for medicinal purposes, then by all means. And when it comes to sports, I still have to run with the straight edge of staying off of drugs and off of the flower, whatever.
You didn't do your best Stephen A. Smith impression?
No, I'm not going to do that. Not at all. Not at all. But we can transition into baseball. So with baseball happening, I know as of today, the Dodgers lost, which puts them behind in the series 3-2. Actually, no.
3-1.
3-1, my bad. And then the Houston Astros hit a walk-off solo home run at the bottom of the 9th earlier today, putting that series, Tampa Bay's leading 3-2. So if you want my early predictions for the World Series, not really early, but if you want my predictions for the World Series, I think it's going to be Tampa Bay versus Atlanta Braves. And I believe the Atlanta Braves are going to win it all. That's just my personal opinion. I don't know. I think this Atlanta team has a lot of young hitters who are hungry. I mean, we saw it last season with their young stars.
Mm-hmm.
And now I think that they've just developed more into this season.
You ever notice that I think this is probably one of the biggest things that's the difference between basketball and football. Usually you got these players with the teams when they come from a draft, you get a better chance of getting a decent player that can show longevity and a longevity for that team in comparison to basketball where you have a better chance of getting a hit or miss as your first round pick. And for the Atlanta Braves perspective, they've really been at the bottom for quite a while. So they had a chance to accumulate a lot of these but these top picks, top prospects. And when they pan out, when they got the time to show what they can do in the majors, they're making it count. So I'm glad to see that. I'm glad to see that Atlanta Braves are actually doing well. You know, they like I said mentioned earlier, they've been at the bottom for far too long. And was the same thing with the Rays. They have been at the bottom, I believe, it hasn't been for that long. They haven't that far of a drought as much as the Atlanta Braves had, but they was always, let's just call them little brothers compared to the Yankees. And I'm not trying to talk mess about the Rays. It's just that's just how their teams were. They cannot compete against their competitors inside the division. That's why they always at the bottom.
Mm-hmm. I can see that, which is, I mean, it's true, but we'll see how this pans out. Still, the Dodgers can still make a comeback because the Dodgers are still top of the division, the National League for a reason. They've been number one in the National League for a few years, for quite some time now. Not throwing any shade or shots, but I'm just saying.
It was like
the Houston Astros, as much as, majority of the world and myself strongly dislike them, they still find a way to win in certain series. I have to give it to them. Cheating, not cheating. I mean, they're not cheating this year, and yet they're one game away from tying up the series and 2 games away from going to the World Series, which would be 4 years in a row. So
they have shown to either weather the storm. They shown to cheat when nobody can actually tell you cheating. It's more. It's like I still gonna look at them through the side eye. I can't really trust them completely until I see for a fact that they deserve this win. Because to me, they stole the Dodgers championship pennant last year, or I believe 2 years ago. So I'm not letting that go. I refuse.
Yeah, I completely agree. I understand. I'm just throwing that out there. So can we talk about the craziness of what's been going on? So there's been a bunch of positive tests. Tennessee Titans, for one. It was a lot of memes going around. It was a Rick and Morty meme of the NFL talking to the Tennessee Titans, and it was like, get your shit together. I don't know what you have to do. Ball it up, put it in a bag, go take it somewhere, but you got to get your shit together. Because the Tennessee Titans missed 2 weeks of play because they just kept having people test positive. When they finally got to play this week, it was a really good showing versus a strong Buffalo Bills team. Don't get anything wrong. Josh Allen still is in the MVP race. I'm not saying that he is MVP, but his performances up until last game versus Tennessee Titans have been MVP-like for a young star, for a young quarterback. And he's been proving why he was taken, where he was taken in that round, and why he became such an instant starter. Not just his throwing power, but his decision-making. Now, he still has certain choices that he makes in certain things that he does to where you kind of like scratch your head, but I mean, he's a young quarterback. That's what all young quarterbacks do.
Exactly.
The only quarterback that I can say of recent years that hasn't really made a mistake that made you go, huh, was Patrick Mahomes so far. From the 2016 draft up until now, Patrick Mahomes is the only quarterback I've seen to where I haven't scratched my head on a throw or on a play or on a series of drive or throughout an entire game. There's all the other young quarterbacks. Don't get me wrong. There's been great ones from there. I mean, of course, you got the likes of Carson Wentz, Dak Prescott, just the name Patrick Mahomes, Josh Allen, Lamar Jackson, but all of them except for Patrick have made me scratch my head and just wonder, like, what were you doing this game? What was your thought process? Just questioning not their abilities because they're all great, but just subtle things. But with that being said, they had a really strong showing. Derrick Henry still has not had a really breakout game so far this season, and they're still undefeated. That's a big telling sign for the Tennessee Titans. And I think they're just really well coached, if I would do say so myself.
I agree. My thing to talk about with the whole COVID cases, Tennessee showed really what I expected, what we saw from them last year when it was in the playoffs. They showed a decent offense. They showed an offense that really is kind of hard. If you don't really match them fight like blow for blow, and if you let them run over you, they're going to really run over you. And it kind of was surprising because they won that way, of course, because it was turned to be a blowout, but their defense actually showed signs of being like, this is actually a decent defense. They got enough picks. I don't think they got a pick six, but I know Malcolm Butler had got one, and it was kind of surprising. Why are you making that face?
Yeah, continue. Yeah.
It showed me that they're actually decent in the secondary, which is what one thing I have been pleasantly surprised seeing from the Tennessee Titans. Mm-hmm. Took me by surprise, actually, but pleasant surprise nonetheless. And I believe that every with these young receivers, like I said, these young quarterbacks, I realize they need a stud like receiver. Not what's going on in not what's going on in the Bengals when they brought in T. Higgins but they had AJ Green for Joe Burrow. But Josh Allen getting Stephon Diggs that somewhat elevated his game. They have a deep threat receiver for a strong arm quarterback. That just makes it well. That makes everything work better for the two. And that's kind of why you see Josh Allen being raised right now in the MVP race. He's gonna win it. That's up for debate. But
yeah, I mean, and we get to, as far as like other NFL news, we get to finally see Cam Newton come back this week after having to sit out for 3 weeks due to the virus. So we'll see how he looks. Hopefully he still looks in his MVP form, because right now I have 4 to maybe 5 people headhunting for this MVP. That's Patrick Mahomes, Josh Allen, Cam Newton, and Russell Wilson. Actually, and Lamar Jackson.
You want to throw a defensive player in there? You don't want to add a defensive player into that mix?
No, not yet.
It's usually hard for them to win anyway.
It's too early for me to add a defensive player. There are defensive studs. Of course, you still have Aaron Donald, and the Rams look decent this season and are not talked about enough. So Aaron Donald's still going to be thrown in the mix. I know that Khalil Mack's performance last season was absolutely monstrous. But, I mean, I've always advocated for Khalil Mack. I've always thought Khalil Mack since he's been in Chicago, has been one of the best defensive players we've seen in a long time. He subtly gives me a Lawrence Taylor type of vibe. What I mean by that is, like, he's dominant, but the team around him, give or take, is up in the wind. Like, some years they look good, other years they look kind of average. And I know that he'll never fill the shoes of Lawrence Taylor, because Lawrence Taylor rookie year won MVP. So, I mean, I'm not saying he's that. Nobody's Lawrence Taylor, but he has those subtle glimpses that he gives me to where it's just like he's just an all-pro performer. But as far as other defensive players this season, I haven't really seen one that has struck me as MVP status.
I can agree. The only person I was kind of hoping you would throw in was Aaron Donald. That was kind of it. But since you said it off the bat, there was no reason to talk about it.
Well, of course. I mean, I'm gonna have to. His performance hasn't went down at all in how many years now? It's been what, 3, almost 4 years. His performance has just been the same. I mean, granted, it hasn't really gotten any better, but when you're at the top of the pinnacle, Aaron Donald's kind of having like a LeBron James type of MVP talk, where it's like he's going to get MVP again this year, and then next year he's going to have the same performance, but they're probably going to give the defensive MVP to someone else because it's like, okay, we know that you're here, and you can't really push past that. And for us to not seem so biased, we have to give it to someone else, even though it should go to you every year. He's having that type of performance. But to the big news, the one that I know I've been dying to talk about, let's talk about how the New York Jets are on this Adam Gase or die train. And the reason why I say they're on this Adam Gase or die train is because it was Le'Veon Bell or Adam Gase. The reason why I say that is because last year, what's his name? Jamal has expressed that he didn't like Adam Gase, not directly, but indirectly. He didn't like the way that the team was going, and he wasn't having fun or enjoying his stint in New York. So what did they say? We're gonna get you out of here. Our number 1 overall pick from a few years ago, we're going to get you out of here. And that's what they did. And then so in comes Le'Veon Bell. Granted, he got paid, but we don't know if lack of performance was due to him sitting out a year or the lack of Adam Gase's offense. But Adam Gase needs to go out of New York, out of the Giants. We have one person to blame from Adam Gase being there. Actually, 2 people to blame. The owners and Peyton Manning for saying, oh, you didn't know this, did you? Peyton Manning vouched for Adam Gase to go to be the New York Giants to be the New York Jets football coach when he was kicked out of Miami.
Ooh, Miami.
So a few different people were talking to the general manager and to the owners of the Jets, and they were like, hey, who should we have? I can't remember who his name is, but somebody, I want to say his name is Mike Brandt, I believe, I might be butchering that, said that, hey, give Mike McCarthy the job for the Jets, he'd be perfect. Peyton Manning got on the phone and said, hey, Adam Gase. Who do they run with?
Peyton Manning.
I'm just saying. I mean, it's like when you have a Peyton Manning cosign and anybody else, you're gonna run with Peyton Manning cosign over everybody else's cosign. And now here's the mess. Here's the trash that you made. And so here you go. Stick with this. And so the reason why Le'Veon Bell is out of there is because originally they wanted to trade him because he was liking some tweets about how he wasn't used properly in the system and how he doesn't like it there. And so on Twitter, he was liking. He didn't say anything, but likes mean a lot. And so that got back to the front office. And so they were trying to trade him, and nobody was like, hey, trade him? What do you mean? We're not going to trade you for him, but we know that you guys want to get rid of him. You guys have been trying to get rid of him since last season. We're just going to wait till you guys release him. Shortly after, it was like not even 24 hours later, they released him. And not even 24 hours from that, he is now signed a 1-year deal with the Kansas City Chiefs. That 1-year deal, I'm not sure how that $6 million that was still left on the table for him with the Jets, how that's supposed to go. I think it's like a reverse contract of he still gets paid the $6 million, or the $6 million goes against whatever he gets paid from the extension of this 1-year contract with the Chiefs. I'm not exactly sure how that.
You good?
What part did you stop hearing?
When you got stuck like this.
What part did you stop hearing? Like, what part of that did you stop hearing, though?
All right. So when you was talking about he got signed to the Chiefs, I think that's probably the last part of it.
Okay, so he was signed to the Chiefs for a 1-year deal.
You talked about the contract. You didn't understand it. Granted, I don't understand it as well, but I assume it'd probably be dead cap space for the Jets. They still have to pay them as well.
The Jets still technically owe him $6 million.
Exactly.
That is a guaranteed. He still owed $6 million from the Jets. I'm not sure how the Jets and the Chiefs are going to work it out, but essentially, if he gets the $6 million, I think the Jets pay the Chiefs the $6 million, and that goes towards towards whatever contract that he gets with the Chiefs. I don't think he gets paid $6 million plus another $6 million from the Chiefs, if that makes sense. So I don't think he gets a collective total of $12 million if they sign him to a 1-year, $6 million deal. If they sign him to a 1-year, $10 million deal, he gets $6 million from the Jets, and then $4 million from the Chiefs. If that makes sense.
That makes more sense.
That's how I think it works out exactly. Not too sure. We'll see more details later. But I got to give credit to the Chiefs front office, to Andy Reid, and to the owners, because this has been – the Chiefs are the Warriors. The Chiefs are the Golden State Warriors of football. Because if you look at it, you have Patrick Mahomes, arguably – he has the potential to be the greatest quarterback to ever play the game. You have a phenomenal tight end, one of the best tight ends in the game. He's been one of the best tight ends in Travis Kelce. You have one of the fastest wide receivers in what's his name? In Tyreek Hill. You have another solid receiver in Sammy Watkins, McCall Hardman, Clyde Edwards-Helaire, who looked like a promising rookie running back. And then if we get a glimpse of what Le'Veon Bell looked like before he had that holdout,
when he was at Pittsburgh Le'Veon Bell.
Where do you start on stopping this offense? You just listed off that's 7 fingers you put up of potential Pro Bowlers, of 4 Pro Bowlers in that offense. Mahomes,
Travis, Sammy Watkins is injured at the moment. Nicole Hardman, Tyreek Hill.
Okay, so you have 3 guaranteed Pro Bowlers.
Right. Then you got the Le'Veon Bell, and as well as Clyde Edwards-Helaire.
So, and then I don't even know how do you handle that 2-headed monster at running back. You stick with Clyde and try to sprint. I mean, I would figure if it's not broke, don't fix it. So have Clyde as a starter and try to sprinkle in Le'Veon until he understands the offense fully, because that's a really high-powered, fast moving pace offense. It's not something that they don't score. They don't take 5 minutes to score. They usually average about a 3-minute drive to score. Shots is bang, 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 and if it's not bang, bang, bang down the field, it's I'm gonna hit you with this run, and then Clyde breaks it open, and then it's a bang afterwards.
That's true.
So it's a really complicated but sophisticated offense.
That's Andy Reid for you, so I expect nothing less. But usually with these high-powered offenses, the one thing that suffers the most is the defense, because you're constantly asking them to go out there after 3 or 4 minutes, and they tired, they want to break too. But the fact that you can actually do both, you can actually stay the course and be if you want to go high-powered, they can actually run it up in 3 minutes, and I do like that style. But they also can slow it down and actually give their team a break. That's something you only see in Super Bowl teams, and I do like that. But Le'Veon Bell should just don't try to ruin a good thing. That's the best thing I could tell him. Do not try to ruin a good thing. You know, you may win a ring after this. You may win another ring to the collection. All you have to do is just play your role. Do not fuck this up. That's the nicest way to say this.
Before we started the podcast today, I mean, before he signed, the reason why he signed is because he said he felt like this would give him the best option to win a ring, which is true. I mean, nobody's doubting that. There were speculations and rumors of where he could go. They were like, oh, he can go back to Pittsburgh. Possibility. I personally didn't think that was possible. He can go to the Bills. He can go to the Buffalo Bills and add to that high-powered offense already. He could go to the Patriots. That would be monstrous. I was really hoping that he went to the Patriots just to shake up the AFC. I don't think that they were going to make it to the Super Bowl, but I just wanted to see him, and because I like Le'Veon Bell and I like Cam Newton, so I'm not rooting for the Patriots, but I just like these two individuals as individuals, and seeing them potentially seeing them on the same team would have just been great to see.
That's true.
But of course,
nice case.
So it's interesting, and I feel like the only way to beat the Kansas City Chiefs is to now have a defense that is predicated around the defense, like have a team that's predicated around the defense. So you have to almost have a 2000 Baltimore Ravens type defense to be able to compare and combat against this high-powered offense. Because it's like, I understand defense wins championships, but we might actually see offense. I mean, last year we kind of saw it was like offense wins championships, but really it was like the 49ers kind of self-imploded because the 49ers had it all the way up until the end. They just kind of self-imploded with just simple mistakes that they made that the Chiefs didn't make. So I don't really say that the Chiefs dominated and won that Super Bowl. I think the 49ers kind of gave away the Super Bowl, but that's kind of been Shanahan's whole hit on him is his second half. He just doesn't know how to finish out second half of prime time games. I mean, granted, as they were going through the NFC, it was kind of easier because they were the best team in the NFC last year. But when it comes to the Super Bowl, he just doesn't know how to dial up in a play. He doesn't really know how to dial up play calling offensively or defensively in the Super Bowl for the past two Super Bowls that he's been in, whether it was with Atlanta and he was an OC or last year. But who knows? But you have to have an extremely fortified defense, bottom up, top to bottom, bottom to top. And the only defense I can see on paper that matches up well, to me, it's going to sound crazy, but it's New Orleans. Do I see New Orleans making the Super Bowl? I don't know. But from bottom to top, from DBs on down to the trenches, from the trenches on up, is New Orleans that I've seen on paper that's in the NFC that can match up.
Yeah, I see what you're talking about, but it's not going to really matter if they don't make the championship, make it to the Super Bowl.
That's the problem. I mean, I think that they still have odds to make it, especially because Tampa Bay, Tom Brady's realizing it's not easy. The wins aren't going to come easy. You guys have a target on your backs, and you guys haven't even won anything. And so that's the problem with having a target on your back when you don't win, when you haven't won anything, is everybody's circling you guys, and you guys weren't even the divisional champs. Everybody should have been circling the 49ers, but they're circling you guys now because all of that buzz in this offseason. So
this is what happens when you talk before you play. You know, it's you got that bullseye on your back, and when you don't produce, those arrows start to hit. And it's like, how are you going to combat that? Now, granted, I believe when they play against the Bears, that should have been a win. I don't know how they messed that up, but
still on fourth down. Sit down. The ball is theirs now, and
maybe that would have worked if he was with the Patriots still, but I don't know about that.
We're in Foxborough still, right? No. Oh, we're in Soldier Field.
Ooh,
we're in Chicago. Oh, I'm sorry. I thought we were in Foxborough. I could have got away with that, but my bad. No, sir.
Oh man, but it's like when you said the New Orleans Saints, and like it makes sense. The personnel wise, they have a lot of talent on top to bottom that can actually compete with them. They have a good rush in Cam Jordan. They have good DBs with Marcus Williams and Marshawn Lattimore. Yes.
And Malcolm Jenkins.
Mm-hmm. A little older, but yeah, he still knows what he's doing back there in the DBs with the DBs. But I was gonna suggest the
linebacker core. I mean, not to talk about New Orleans, but I mean you have Kiko Alonso and then you have Demarcus. I can't think of his name. Davis, I believe.
DeMarco Davis. I think you're right. Yeah.
I'm gonna look that up. Continue.
Is this the fact that what's it called? The team I was going to suggest was the Legion of Boom Seattle Seahawks.
There you go. DeMario Davis. That's what it was.
Mario Davis. Okay. But I brought up that factor. You know, a good defense in that case would combat against the Kansas City Chiefs. I was just gonna suggest that you would need a good good game manager in this case, since you don't really want to give the ball back to their offense. You want to hold on to the ball as much as possible. So you will like to run the ball majority of the time. And that's one thing that Legion of Boom had. They did have Marshawn Lynch on that team too, so they can run the ball as much as they need to. It's just whether or not they give him the ball.
You just a light bulb just went off in my head. You know what I would love to see now in the Super Bowl? Kansas City versus Seattle. The Seattle offense is really good, and the best game manager we've seen since Tom Brady is that boy Russ. That boy Russell Wilson, who still hasn't won a regular season MVP, who deserves it.
True.
Several times. Deserved it. If we're being honest, he probably should have deserved it at least twice. I say 2 years he should have deserved it, but that's neither here nor there. Mm-hmm. Just because that Seattle defense is decent. It's not the greatest, but same. I mean, we can say the same thing about the Kansas City Chiefs. The only difference is Seattle doesn't score as fast as the Chiefs. But if Russell can hold the ball, keep the ball and manage the game and keep the ball out of Patrick's hands, just from an offensive standpoint, and just tire out the Chiefs defense, I think it might be my earliest best option now.
For right now, at least, the only thing you have to worry about is make sure the Honey Badger doesn't mess up your plans, because that is the one thing that can mess up a good game management is turnovers, and it's kind of hard. He is good at that.
Or Frank Clark. Frank Clark was really good in the Super Bowl that nobody really talks about either. Mm-hmm. I mean, we'll see. So, all for the moment we've all been waiting for. Don't you think it's kind of like cool how like only 2 teams can say that they have 17 championships now?
It really should be one team that should have 18 champions. But my goat is in the pine box, so I'm not going to speak ill will on it. I'm not going to speak.
I mean, if we want to be just like completely rude and disrespectful, Bill Russell really didn't play anybody except for like Elgin Baylor and Jerry West. So if we take away all of his championships, it's really the Lakers and then everybody else. Because, I mean, if you take away all those other championships, they only have 6.
He does have 11. There's a reason why I put this, because I ain't got 11 fingers. he got 11 rings. You can't really say nothing against him, man. But yeah, I love this. LA needed this. LA needed this win. Like we are champs again, and that's a blessing to hear. You know, it's been a hard. I would say it's been a hard 2 years living in LA. You know, everything that happened. We don't have to go into detail about it, but it's nice. It's nice to hear. You know, I literally downtown LA cheering, celebrating, and being wholesome again. Now I can't say the same for that dude who said F Kobe. He deserved that beatdown.
Now I can. Okay, I know a bunch of LeBron fans are gonna hate me for this and everything. I've always liked LeBron. The LeBron stands I've never liked. I've always loved LeBron. But now I can personally officially put him in my top 3 of all time list, possibly top 2. Because now it's like, what else do I have to accomplish to solidify? Because a lot of people were trying to put him in top 3, top 5 all time when he didn't even have 1 championship. And it's like, I understand he's a phenomenal player. He's an anomaly. He's one of the best athletes we've ever seen. Don't get me wrong, but as far as it comes to being a champion, being a winner, he just didn't have it. And then all those different finals appearances and losses had a toll on just how I viewed being one of the all-time greats. Because if you're one of the all-time greats, your finals record shows it. You have to have more wins in your finals record than losses. Granted, he's 4-6 in the finals now, but through all of the adversity that he had to face, through all of the super teams being built that he had to battle and beat. He's battle tested, he's proven, and now I can officially say that from my personal top list, he's top 3 for me of all time. And I believe that he just might win 6 championships when it's all said and done. Because next year we're going to try to, of course, repeat. The Lakers, with every championship, has at least had a two-peat. I mean, you really can't find. I mean, probably early back during our first championship days, but since Magic has been here, we've always had a two-peat minimum of championships. We don't just win one and then disappear. It's always like we win one and we win again.
Mm-hmm.
But so of course they're gonna try to go back. And if the rumors are true and we do get Bradley Beal on the Lakers, you can guarantee at least another 2 championships, because I don't see nobody stopping that offense. Because essentially you bring everybody back. I mean, not everybody, but you bring all the big men back. So you bring Anthony Davis back because he's going to resign. He's opting out of his player option, of his $28.6 million player option, to sign a long-term deal, which of course is going to be a super max. So you have Anthony Davis. Of course, you're going to bring back Dwight. You're going to bring back JaVale. Mm-hmm. Maybe Markieff Morris. That's a toss-up. But those 3, you're going to bring back those 3 solidified players for your down low presence. And then, of course, LeBron. And then Bradley. If we Bradley Beal, I don't know why I was stuttering. We're going to bring back Rondo, but if you introduce Bradley Beal, now we can get rid of Danny Green or KCP, which KCP was actually playing good in the finals this year.
That's true. That's true. But like, it's gonna be like I understand where everybody was coming with. You know, Bradley Beal just bought a house in LA. That's where all this boomer buzz came up. But granted, we was talking about this last year. Like he wasn't getting everything wasn't working out for him in Washington. True. You know, now that John Wall's back, depending on how explosive he is, how many wins they do accumulate in Washington, he may get the feeling that, hey, he should stay in Washington or not. But it all depends, because under his contract he's accumulated a lot of money. It's gonna be kind of hard to trade off so many pieces to get this to make this deal work. Now, do I want to see it happen? Of course, but I just rather not see it. I mean, I rather don't see it actually coming to fruition.
The Lakers would be willing. It's just, if I'm inside Jeannie Buss and Rob Pelinka's mind, what you want to do is you want to capitalize now on championships now. So you give up players, and out of the players you can give up, I mean, you can probably, so on trading block, to me, if I'm inside their minds, you got KCP, Danny Green, little to nothing. Kuzma, a little bit more. Caruso, a little bit more, something to sweeten a deal. You maybe let go of JR and Dion, because they only really signed on for that. You keep Avery Bradley, because Avery Bradley's coming back. Mm-hmm. And then you might let go of another young player, or you might just let go of draft picks. And I think that they're probably going to try to get rid of Kuzma and maybe Alex Caruso, only because those are 2 players that teams would want. Mm-hmm. As opposed to the rest of the names that I've said, even though I do like Caruso and I do like Kuzma at times when he's attacking the basket, but he does have his up and down moments for me. Mm-hmm. But I think they're going to get rid of a lot of draft picks, because it's like, now that we're tied with Boston, we officially want to get out of Boston's shadow, because we've been in Boston's shadow for so long. What's the best way to seal the deal with Bradley Beal and actually try to have the 2-headed monster in the 2-guard position of Bradley Beal and Avery Bradley?
That would be nice.
Getting rid of draft picks, getting rid of some of these players, opening up some cap space, some room, getting him and attacking this next year and the following year. That way we go up to 19 championships, or at least try to battle for 18. So next year is going to be the battle for 18.
Mm-hmm. And that's kind of what I was kind of mainly hoping for this year, you know, because it'll just be a repeat of what happened in. I don't want the repeat to happen though, but what happened in, I believe, 2008, when the first time the Lakers and the Celtics met during that decade, and the Lakers came up short. But that's what I was expecting to happen this year. It was supposed to be, you know, Jason Tatum and the Celtics versus LeBron James and the Lakers. They couldn't get the job done, just like the Clippers. They fail before they can make it to the show. Shit happens. But if I do see I do see how your plan can work out to actually get the Bradley Beal here. It will capitalize on a lot of what the Lakers have going on. Because if you really look at it, the Lakers have been to the championship. They went 6 in the past decade, from 2000 2010. And if they can repeat that, this decade, I'm very for sure that they will pass the Boston Celtics and getting over at maybe 19. It all depends on how well they do this year from the schedule to player personnel.
Granted, now there's a big target on our backs because we're the champions, of course. And there's always a target on the Lakers back when the Lakers are good. Same thing with the Boston Celtics when the Celtics are good. Those are just two teams that are going to always have a target on their back. And San Antonio Spurs, as long as Popovich is coaching them, those are some teams that always have targets on their back when they're good. But if you think about who's all coming back next season and who all will be healthy, Golden State still has that number 2 overall draft pick who will probably get a young talent who can plug and play right now, plus all of their starters who are back. So Golden State's going to try to say, hey, I know we took a year off, but we're still number 1 in the West. So that's going to be their mission next year, their strength in numbers. Our mission next year is battle for 18. I'm already calling it now. It's going to be battle for 18. I already got the slogan ready. And then, of course, you have the rest of the Western Conference teams who are strong. If I'm Denver, I might try to steal one of these players, steal another fortified player to add to my team, because we were really good and we were really close. If we didn't play the Lakers, essentially what Denver's thinking is, if we don't play the Lakers, we're in the championship. And we have a strong chance of winning it, just like Miami had a strong chance of winning it. Because if you have a Miami-Denver NBA Finals, that's a Game 7 automatically. And who wins in that Game 7? Nobody knows.
I'll give it to Denver. That height matters. You know what I'm saying? I did your job for you.
Same thing with Boston in the East and with Miami in the East. You still have the San Antonio Spurs of the Eastern Conference, which is the Milwaukee Bucks, who playing style isn't electric, but they get the job done year in, year out. They just can't they just can't get past that hump in the playoffs. But Giannis really needs to hone in on his shooting and really get that down. But then we also have what's going on in Brooklyn. We don't know how good they are, but how good they will be. But if we're going off of their potential, KD is still KD, Kyrie is still Kyrie. And if Karis LeVert plays like how he was playing in the bubble, that's a strong, solid 3 right there.
Exactly. And they also have Jared Allen that can hold down and be that defensive anchor. That's one of the things that Miami was lacking for most part of that Lakers versus Miami series. If they would have had like that height to match it and a defensive anchor to keep people out of the paint, they would have had a stronger chance. That's exactly why I do like Brooklyn's chances, not necessarily making it out of the East, but I do like their chances of making some noise in the playoffs.
And if, like you said, if Miami wants to try to go back to the finals, what they need to do is get Bam Adebayo down low some more help, because he was their defensive anchor all year. All before the bubble, before this whole pandemic thing happened, before the bubble, during the bubble, and in the playoffs, he was their defensive anchor. So when he got hurt, it showed. On defense, like they were still trying to light up the scoreboard, but on defense, they couldn't stop anything, especially down low. Granted, nobody can stop the Lakers down low, right? Anyway, but still, he needs more help in just on the perimeter. He needs the guards to tighten up on the perimeter, but they're still young, so they'll do that. And then he also needs another big man to help him out down low as well. But next year is going to be really interesting for the NBA.
I cannot wait. There is 2 things I want you to keep in mind that what's going to happen next year. Keep in mind, pay attention to where Giannis actually goes to. If everything pans out and he does stay in Milwaukee, he needs to work on the shooting like you mentioned. But I did see there having some rumblings that Miami's going to make a strong push to get Giannis Antetokounmpo. that could be Bam's help that you just mentioned just now. And also one of the things that I do hope he comes back healthy and strong. DeMarcus Cousins. He was one of the players that was out for the Lakers that we had to get a final replacement. Then actually turned out to be very helpful in Dwight Howard. But he's still a decent player that you can plug in that can help either on the defensive end or on the offensive end, and that's always a big help for any team. So whether that's Miami, whether that could be a backup for the Lakers, because I know for a fact we always would appreciate big men, and that's one thing to keep in mind. I do also believe that Denver should also look into getting DeMarcus Cousins as well, because he will be another key asset to help with Joker. To because their way of it with their play styles, you can't, if you have your big man out controlling the ball, you virtually have no presence in the paint.
That's actually a really solid point, and we can wrap it up on that point. But if DeMarcus Cousins goes to Denver, Jokic can now move to the 4, which is really scary because we play the 5, but he always had that wing option of playing the 4, and he always had that capability. But if he actually moves to the 4, now we're talking about a high-powered offense and defense.
Exactly. You don't lose. You don't lose.
For being a big man, he can move with the best of them. So
he said it's good. NBA is gonna be fun to watch next year, and I can't wait.
Me either. All right. Well, thank you guys for tuning in to another episode. This is episode 12 of the Two Brothers podcast. Be sure to like, comment, subscribe, tell a friend, tag somebody, share it, turn it on when you just not doing nothing around the house, or turn it on and walk away from it. That's fine. Just help us grow, please. Thank you, and we'll see you guys next time. Peace. Oh, wait, no.